so you had a journey, soccer, whenever I knew you or met you, I don't know if you're a sophomore or going into your junior year, but I know that you weren't an Olympian yet.
Right.
So maybe if you could rewind, kind of share with everyone, where did your journey begin? Like, where did your passion for soccer begin? Then you were at the University of Florida, and then, how did the Olympics come to be? Because I think when you won the gold medal, that was kind of the beginning of the spark of what I would consider like our dominance in soccer. The women, there was just a ton of energy around women's soccer from that point forward. So if you don't mind kind of taking us through that little journey.
Well, it starts back in like my childhood. Obviously my dad he played freshman team at University of Kentucky basketball, obviously was very athletic. My mom was as well. And that always was something that we took part in with my parents and loved it. And my parents were super supportive of our journey. And, I went away to University of Florida. I'm from Cincinnati. For multiple reasons. I think that was the best choice for me. My parents divorced. I kind of gravitated towards a really rebellious group of kids that weren't the best influence. And I think going away was probably the best choice I could have made. University of Florida was the only school that did not offer me a starting job and a full ride. And my parents wanted to kill me, but I just really liked everything that the school had to offer. And my dad was a surgeon. He did not care as much about the athletics. He wanted me to focus on the academics. And so he said, out of all the schools that you're looking at, which would you want to go to if you weren't playing soccer? And I felt like that was such an important decision to make. For me, we just kind of lucked out with the aspect that we did end up being very good at soccer also. And I loved it. And I thought I would only play 4 years. And I wanted to be the best that I could possibly be. So a lot of times in the spring when you have this option, I know it's not like that anymore, but to train as much as you want, I literally trained every single day with my assistant coach. And so I just kind of felt like I had 4 years and I wanted to become as good as I could in college. And we ended up winning the national championship my junior year, which led to me getting invited in with the youth national team. And I just thought, when I graduated from college, that was going to be it. And I was really sad about that because I loved it and I wanted to continue playing. And I continued to train because I heard that there was like this rumor of the first ever women's pro league. And I ended up I was invited out with the under 21 national team, and I was able to attend the 1999 Women's World Cup, the final game. And it was that moment that I decided that I wanted to play on the U.S. women's national team. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And then after that game, there was still no league. They won the Women's World Cup and there was no league for me. And I was done playing college soccer, but I continued to train. And luckily, the first ever women's pro league would begin. So I went from basically watching all these women play a year earlier to then playing alongside them and playing with many of them. And 4 years later, I would be standing up on my first podium, winning my first Olympic gold medal. So it was pretty cool just to kind of like how everything turned out. But I had my dream and I was working my butt off to try to be the best I could possibly be. I never thought that I would ever play on the U.S. women's national team, but it just kind of, I lucked out.
That's it. Well, I mean, you didn't luck out, but it was, you have to have a little bit of luck, right?
A little bit of luck.
But you created the luck. I mean, you set the intention and made it happen. What was it like? Kind of share with everyone what it was like to win the gold medal. And then, how did you accumulate 3 gold medals in that process? And how was it different each time?
Yeah. I love that last question because they all were so different. I think the first one was just kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm at the Olympics and next thing you know, I'm like, oh my God, I'm standing up on a podium winning my first. Like, it's so surreal. I didn't play as much in that first Olympics. So then my next goal was like, I want to play in the next one and I want to really contribute. And then I ended up tearing my ACL the year before. And so I didn't really think that I was going to make that team, but I just kind of once again set my intention on doing everything that I could to get back in time to give myself an opportunity. And it just so happened that the coach of that team was also the coach of my previous women's league team. And so she knew what I was capable of. And it was really neat because she came up to me right after I torn my ACL and she said, Brazil in the finals of the Olympics, I need you in order to win. And so I kind of knew that she was going to be patient with my journey. And so I was able, even though I had some setbacks, I knew that she had my back and that she really wanted me there. So I think that gave me confidence to continue to push myself. And so when we, in that 2008 Olympics, we did end up playing Brazil in the finals. We went to overtime and we ended up winning. And so afterwards it was pretty cool because, we were having a drink afterwards and we just were like clinking our glasses and like laughing because she predicted that and it like came true, so it was just, I don't know, for that reason, it was pretty neat to be able to come back from a major injury, and to be able to do that. And then my last one, like I knew it was my last, I knew it was my last hurrah. And I just, to be able to walk out on top of the game and to say that you did that, played a sport that you love for as many years as you did, and to be able to travel the world and, have these amazing teammates that you would do anything for. And, to represent your country is just like so cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's one of the things I was going to ask you, because I think a lot of times, for people listening in or people listening to your story, I think sometimes they get a perception that everything was easy for some people, and especially today in social media or someone winning the Olympics. And so I love that you brought the setback in place. And one of the things that I would ask you is, because I kind of heard it when you just said that you had a major setback. You tore your ACL 1 year before the next year of making the team or the next Olympics. But I've always said this: people believe in those, or people have faith in those that have faith in other people, right? And you said one of the things that kept you going or gave you confidence was someone else saw greatness in you and believed in you.
Right.
What would you share with people that, they might not be going through a setback in sports, but maybe it's life or maybe it's business, because I always say this, that everyone has a fight. Everyone's fighting. Everyone has their own personal fights that they're fighting. We might not see it on a day in and day out basis, but I know everyone is having struggles and setbacks, especially like in today's world, right? I mean, right now we're kind of in this time of uncertainty, but what would you encourage them to do and how to get through?
Yeah, I think it comes down to goal setting. Goal setting is huge. And I think, you need personal goals and you need, business goals and all different ones. And you need to continue to set those really high to where they almost seem like unattainable and somewhat scary. But then you have smaller little attainable goals underneath those that allow you to get closer to the ultimate goal. And if you reach that ultimate goal, then you gotta then change it and you got to make it something that's even what seems more impossible to attain. So then that way you always have something to work towards. And I think that's really important throughout life. And I think also the other thing is, and I even talk about this in my gold medal mindset, is finding a great coach or a mentor or taking classes that continue to help you to learn tools or to have someone to believe in you or teach you a new skill so you can continue to move forward and grow in life.
Right. And that's something athletics always gives us, right? They give us a built-in peer group, a built-in coach, that sometimes we might take for granted. You are obviously involved in sports, but then you get to the level you're at now where you're speaking, you're giving back, because that's part of who you are, but it kind of becomes ingrained in you. And I think peer group is one of the most important things to surround yourself with. And today I've always said that if you can't find a peer group, they're all over the internet. Like you can find a mentor, you can find a coach. find someone that resonates with you, that's making things happen, or that inspires you, not because of what they've accomplished, but because of what they're going through, like their transparency. And that's, at least that's what always inspires me. It's the underdog story or the underdog advantage that always like makes the back of my hair stand up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I mean, they say it's like find your tribe, and I feel like I'm still trying to do that. I always had a built-in tribe when I was playing sports, and doesn't mean that you have to be like the best of friends, but you still have people that you have common goals. You have like, the same work ethic, what it takes in order to push someone and support others, and I think that's the amazing thing about sports. And you're right, a lot of times that does translate to the business world. Um, but I think even when you become a mom, you still need to find, or a dad, you need to find like that support group that understands what you're going through, because then you're being challenged by your children, and your kids are going through all these things. And it's like just trying to figure out like, oh, I've been through that too. This is what I did. And, just having people to bounce ideas off one another and, be like, I've been through it too. And it was awful. Like, you're not the only one. Like, everybody goes through those things in life and you're going to be okay.
yeah, no, I mean, listen, I had one of those days yesterday. So, um,
I was gonna say meditation has been like my saving grace through, I started doing it during quarantine because it's just a lot. It's a lot that's going on in the world right now. And it's just like sometimes like when you're a parent and you're like on lockdown and just like all these things that are completely out of your control. I feel like the one thing that has really, I've started this brand new routine of writing in my gratitude journal, like first thing in the morning, just to kind of be like, this is how I want to start my day on a positive note, thinking the things that I'm fortunate for certain things, and what those are. And then the meditation, I feel like I've started at 3 minutes and I work my way up to 15. And I can tell the days that I don't do it. Like it's like completely and totally transformed my life in the best way possible and made me so much more patient and a better mom. Like it's crazy.
that's awesome. I have to ask you how you got started with meditation, right? There's so many, like whether it was an app or whether it was, I'm still working on that muscle. I mean, my brain, it's just very tough. Like I always say that I do kind of walking meditations but just to be still and to
Mm-hmm.
meditate. I've tried float tanks. I don't know if you've ever tried a float tank or not.
Yep. I haven't.
And you get them for about, you know what I'm talking about though?
Yep.
So it's a big salt tank. You get in it and you just float, right? It's about 2 feet of water. And I can last about 10 or 15 minutes in there.
Oh, that's
And then
good. I think
my
that would be
brain starts
amazing.
spinning. Yeah, so it's a start. But what did you do to get started meditating?
So I read a book and it talked about all the benefits of meditation. And I was like, oh my God, why am I not doing this? Like I've heard how amazing it is, but it's like, it's really hard to get started. And in the book, it said to do 3 minutes. That's it. 3 minutes a day for 2 weeks. And if you can't do it straight for 2 weeks, then you start over. And that first 2 weeks was really tough because I did like almost like a night. And you're like, how can I not find 3 minutes in a day just to like sit? Right? Why is that so hard? But for some odd reason, it's funny the excuses that you make up in your head because you're not making it a priority. Right. But once I made it a priority because I knew the benefits of it, I was like, I need to make this part of my day. Then I started to see like how it really does affect me and how it really does calm me and make me more patient. And like, I feel like I'm like a Jedi now with my son, when my son's coming at me, and a lot of times like in the past I would react to it. And now I just kind of sit there and I'm so patient and it just, I don't know, it just allows me to kind of like let him do his thing. And then, if I don't give him a reaction, then he's not getting what he wants. So
Then you
we
can
can
respond.
we can deal with things better. I mean, that's what it is really. So it's been great.
That's awesome. So the gold medal mindset is kind of your own formula for success. And I'm assuming that when you speak, you talk a little bit about the gold medal mindset.
Yeah.
So share with me just a little piece of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think when people hear me speak, they're not expecting from me to go into what I do. I think I look back on my career, and it even starts in childhood. And I think about, when I look at me, I'm one of 4 players in U.S. soccer history to win 3 Olympic gold medals. And when I look at myself, it's not like I'm the most talented, right? It's not like I'm the tallest. I'm like not the most physical. So it's like, what was it?
What position did you play, by the way? I
I
remember
was
you were feisty.
defense. I was, I
Yeah,
was
you were
what?
feisty. You
I
were
was what?
feisty.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
you were just feisty in general.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So changed a lot since college, I will say that. But yeah, I think that feistiness helped me on the soccer field, but I also think it really just came down to mindset more than anything. And so it starts with like giving yourself permission to dream of a positive outcome. Then it's about owning your identity. And I think that's a big one because you have to figure out really who you are, learning what you can control. A lot of things are completely out of our control, and that's not even worth our attention or our stress or any of those things. So figuring out what you can control, and then also just not stopping until you have success and that you're a successful person. So those are all the things that really kind of had helped me, not only from a young age, but through my playing career and actually now as a mom.
You talked about own your identity, like learning who you are. And that's something like I'm super passionate about, because I think that, especially with social media today, like your identity is one of those powerful tools that you have to create your future, right? It's like how you think of yourself, and your imagination is a tool as well to create your future. But I think so many people, they're more worried about either fitting in, or they're more worried about what society puts pressure on us to be or to do. I've always said that, it's the old adage, know thyself and be thyself, but most people never take time to know themselves, right? I know for me, in my 20s, even early 30s, I was like chasing money, chasing what I thought was important.
Yeah.
And not that I'm the same person, it's just almost kind of like rewired to like truly understand what it is that moves me or touches me.
Right.
But talk a little bit about owning your identity. Like I'd just love to hear what your perspective is on that, because you just made a comment to me. So I'm a lot different than I was in college.
Yeah,
I mean, you're the
totally.
same person, you're the same values, you just might understand yourself a little bit more. But I'd love to know, what did you do to own your identity?
Well, I think it's about sitting down and really trying to figure out who you are and who you want to be. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I put off for like the longest time after I was done playing, because I was just like, gosh, I was an athlete for so long, and then I lost that part of my life. And so then it's like, well, who are you? Who are you without sports? And here's your opportunity to figure out who you want to be, like moving forward, like who you want to be remembered as more than anything. And I think, your childhood, like it definitely makes you a lot of who you are later in life, but that doesn't mean that's like who you are, right? And I'm sure there's things that have happened in the past that you're completely and totally embarrassed of, but at the same time, you learn from those experiences, and they make you who you are, but also you make sure not to make those same mistakes twice. And you know I think for me now, it's like, what's your priority? Like, who are you? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be remembered as? And don't forget who you were, but become the best version of yourself. And so that's what I'm continuing to work on every single day, is being that best version of myself.
Oh, that's awesome. And a lot of times in athletics, people do lose their, like, they go from this high level performance and high level of focus and playing for something, right? Whether it's a gold medal, and you have to be the best version of yourself to be even to make the team. Then once you make the team, you're contributing to something greater than yourself. It's not even just about you. You're contributing to something greater than yourself, which has a level of fulfillment built into it. And I've seen so many of my friends that even like played at UK, right? And they could never leave that circle. And then
Right.
afterwards, they could never transition the same fundamentals that it took to play at that level they could never transition it to life or business.
Right.
And they became very depressed, like
Yeah.
crazy.
And I think the big part with that I don't think that athletes are really given the right tools to be able to transition from playing to what's next, right? They're just kind of like on their own, like figure it out. You either sink or swim. But I also think you're gonna have failure, and I think failure is great for all of us because we learn so much about who we are and the areas that we need to become better at. But I also feel like if you're passionate about something, then you're going to have success, right? As long as you continue to have passion and you continue to follow your dreams and you have the same work ethic and dedication that you did when you were playing, you will have success in your next venture. You might have failure along the way, and that's going to be a bump in the road and it's hard, but we forget that as athletes, we had failure too.
That's what I was going to say. The number one key there is people, when they transition, they forget to realize that they're becoming successful because of the failures, because of the setbacks, because of the plateaus, because of the hours and the hours and the hours of work and practice and dedication. Because like, think about when you were achieving your level of success, think about the year that you were the most powerful version of Heather Mitz, the soccer player, right? Like, it's hard sometimes because everything came, I don't want to say effortless, but sometimes you forget the first day you learn to dribble, or juggle the ball, or fundamentals. And then you get into business and you think that, it's
like it's turnkey. Because I think the problem is that we see people that go from playing to their next venture and it somewhat seems really easy. Like some people do have more success than others, right? But again,
especially in today, a lot of them get paid for their influence immediately, right? Like if you're a star athlete, but if you break it, they get, because influence is so, anyway, that's a whole another rabbit hole, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, I agree with you. So it's not a lot of times just because of them. It's because they have an amazing support group around them. They have people that are like, a team. They have a team to help them to get there. So I think and all athletes see that and they think, oh, well, that's going to be me also. And then they find out that it's not. So then a lot of times they're like, well, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. I don't want to leave, Kentucky, or I don't want to leave this place where I have like this bubble of support and people are going to idolize me and remember me as I was as an athlete, 20 years ago. So, and for some people, that's great. If that's what works for you, like by all means, like own it. But I think there's a lot of people out there that have more to offer and they just got to figure out exactly what that is. And they got to follow their passion and be ready to have bumps along the way.
Yep. And that's the number one expectation, I think. If someone's listening to this, is that if you're going to be the best version of yourself, like Heather was saying, is then you have to expect conflict. You have to expect bumps in the road. You have to expect trials and tribulations. And I've always said that the trials and tribulations make up the melody of our life if we embrace it. Don't shy away from it, right? And that's why I love athletics, and the foundation of athletics is you embrace, the hard workouts. You embrace those things because we've been built when we were younger that's how we get better. That's how we get, more successful. That's how we become a better athlete. But for some reason that doesn't, for those people that don't have the foundation of athletics or even the like personal development that I think comes along parallels, I think it's important that I'll never forget this. In 1997, I spoke in front of a small group and I was just kind of going through the motions, as you've been around a lot of great coaches, right? So in sports, I would say it's almost like a personal development journey in itself, especially if you've been playing sports since you were a teenager all the way up into your 20s. And so I would get up and I would speak, but I would almost speak like a coach in a locker room, right? And I remember I was probably 27 at that time, 26, 27. It was right around the time I was in Florida in Gainesville. But I had this girl come up to me and said, I just want to thank you. I've never had anyone speak to me like that. And I was kind of listening. Like, honestly, I was really thinking about like going out that night, right? Like, so she's coming up to me afterwards and I'm like doing the right thing, but I'm sitting here going, and I don't know what hit me. She sat there and she said, you know, my dad used to always tell me I'd be a whore just like my mom. And my mom was a raging alcoholic, and she would come in and beat me some nights, you know. And I just remember this weight that I felt when she was explaining that to me. And I just thought to myself, you arrogant prick. Like, you know, we've been given a gift, you know, a foundation that we're the exceptions to the rule. You grew up with a foundation and a family that, number one, loved you, cared about you, inspired you, you know, supported you. But that's the exception to the rule. You know, most people don't have that level of foundation. And that was kind of what I always call my defining moment of shifting from, okay, there's something bigger, like accept the responsibility of what we've been able to have, but as a gift to give back to other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool just hearing that you're out there giving back, and through giving back, you've probably learned a lot about yourself. I don't know if you like me, like every time I speak, I'm learning. One of the ways that I learn is through that, right? It's giving me perspective. But kind of share with everyone. I know that you have a training and coaching business. I think it's called something Training Legends. Is that right?
Train like legends. Yeah.
So share with us a little bit about that, where people can, if they want to connect with you and follow you, how they can follow Heather Mitts.
Sure. So I'm trying to think. I'm H Mitts2 on Instagram, Heather Mitts on Twitter, Heather Mitts on LinkedIn, and Heather Mitts fan page on Facebook. But Train Like Legends, it's basically I saw firsthand how much strength and conditioning really helped me. I'm only 5'4", like 120 pounds. I've always been one of the smallest athletes on any of the teams that I've ever played, on. And as you mentioned, I know I'm feisty, that helps too. But, I do think that the lifting weights and loving the gym and conditioning, I think, is definitely something that I always took pride in. I always wanted to be the fittest player on the soccer field. And no question about it. Like I never got tired in the games. I could just run and run and run all day long, but that took a lot of practice, right? And mentality to get to that point. And I just would love to now share with the younger generation those keys that helped me to have success. You know, if you want to play at a high level, this is what it takes. And here it is in this program that I want to share with you to help you to get ahead.
So is it mostly all online training?
Yeah. So it's a full-on program that we send. There's this app that we've partnered up with. It's called True Coach. And so every week we send the workout for the week. Some days in the gym, some days on the field or treadmill or whatever type of cardio. So is it actually
you training and they're seeing you train, or are they training?
No. So I demo all of the exercises. So if you ever have a question and you don't know what it is, you can just go watch the little video that I have filmed. And then we have feedback. So every single day, if you have a question or anything, you will get feedback from the coach, which is I've partnered up with the strength and conditioning coach. His name's Alex DeGordy. And so he's actually the one that will give you the feedback. So it's his program, but I've tested it out and I feel like this is what it takes in order to really get ahead on the soccer field. The conditioning's kind of my baby. You know, I love running. I love being fit. And so I've been able to come up with a conditioning program to really help the players like off the field, out of the gym, so that they can be as fit as they can possibly be.
That's awesome. And so is this for anyone or is it mostly for athletes?
Definitely. I mean, I feel like anybody could benefit from it, but it's definitely soccer specific. You know, we focus a lot on single leg movements, lateral movements, strength and conditioning, and fast footwork and plyos and all those type of things that are kind of just going to help you to become a better soccer player.
Awesome. All right. Well, so we'll make sure that we check that out for sure. And then I know that you have a TED Talk, the Gold Medal Mindset, that if people want more on what she just kind of told you about in terms of giving yourself permission to achieve your goals and own your own identity and learn to control what you can control. And don't worry about the other stuff. You can go check out if you just Google gold medal mindset. I think the TED Talk comes up. So
My TED Talk is actually specifically about my ACL injury and then the recovery to get back on the field to come back for the Olympics. But that injury was such a huge injury. The timing was, I think for any athlete, it's always going to be awful. But I wanted to share the kind of not only the mindset, but also the decisions that I made from a personal standpoint, as far as the things that were going to help me to get back on the field as quick as possible. ACL injuries are so prevalent in any sport, but I kind of wanted to share those tips that were going to help somebody just to kind of go through the journey, the decisions that needed to be made, and maybe some inspiration to help them get back on the field.
That's awesome. I mean, because mentally, the mental blow of that probably was as significant as the physical blow, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was the worst timing. And, I literally was just thinking, like, I don't even know if I'm going to ever play soccer at a high level again. But I think I was allowed to feel bad for myself for like a day. And then it's like, what's the point? What's the point of feeling sorry for yourself? What's the point of crying and feeling awful? Because it's not going to help you get back on the field any faster. That's not going to help you to make the team. So it's about changing that mindset and just kind of allowing yourself like a day or two to feel bad. And then after that, it's like changing your mindset to the positive and trying to see how far you can push yourself.
Right. That's awesome. Well, you did it.
I did it.
That's right.
Crazy.
Yeah. So you always have that. So I guess what's next for Heather Metz in closing? You said, always identifying who you want to be. So you're kind of entering into a new stage of your life or a new chapter. So what is it that you've identified in terms of who you want to be over the course of the next decade?
Well, obviously, the most important thing for me is just to be in the moment and be the best mom I can possibly be on a daily basis, and I think that's my first priority. And then when my kids are at school or they're taking naps, which they all are right now, then I can focus on what's going to allow me to continue to feel successful and to grow and to be able to share my life experiences with others. And so right now that's providing this strength and conditioning program. And then also having the opportunity to coach. If you go to the Gold Medal Mindset, Heather Metz GMM, Gold Medal Mindset, I do coaching on a daily basis with obviously athletes as they're having to overcome adversity. And then just my speaking. So, and obviously having the opportunity to talk to you, Brian. So thanks so much for allowing me to come on your podcast.
No, it's a lot of fun, and it's good.
It's nice to be reunited after all these years. I'm glad we had a good time, and it's obviously wonderful to be like able to check in with you again after all these years and hear how successful you've been and everything that's going on with you, and allowing me to share as well. So thank you.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's still a process. Super grateful.